Hello and welcome you all to another lecture on on Murder in the Cathedral by T.S. Eliot. I hope you have all looked through the various videos, you have watched and understood various videos, including the introductory video to the play and the um, videos on the background and all, as well as the audio lectures that I have shared with you, which concerns the contents of the play, chorus, tenders, and the historical context of the play. So now in this video, in this lecture, we will be discussing major themes. And we will start with the wheel. Among the symbols and themes that we will be discussing regarding this play, the wheel is one of the most important. And the other themes we'll be discussing is also related to the theme of the wheel. So wheel is a symbol that is mentioned by many of the characters several times throughout the play. And one of the most important mentions of this comes when uh, early in the play, in the first act, Beckett, referring to the chorus, talks to the priest about how they know more than they think they know. And I will read that section and then get into the discussion about the wheel. They speak better than they know and beyond your understanding. They know and do not know what it is to act or suffer. They know and do not know that action is suffering and suffering is action. Neither does the agent suffer nor the patient act, but both are fixed in an eternal action, an eternal patience to which all must consent that it may be willed, and which all must suffer that they may will it, that the pattern may subsist, for the pattern is the action and the suffering, that the wheel may turn and still be forever still. So he talks about the wheel that may turn and will forever be still. And what he is referring, what Beckett is referring to here is the wheel of fate or fortune. So the wheel of fortune keeps turning. To the human perception, the wheel of fortune keeps turning, and good and evil turns up alternatingly. This is what human beings experience as reality. As time progresses, as eternal as time, the wheel of fortune keeps turning, bringing good and evil alternatively, and it is completely outside of human control. And at the center of this wheel is where divinity resides, where God resides. God is at the still center of the wheel of fate. And what human beings understand as passing, God understands as eternity. From the divine perspective, the wheel is still at the center. At the center of the wheel is still. Fate and time is an unmoving entity, eternal unmoving entity from the divine perspective. From a human perspective, it is something that keeps changing. So it is an illusion created by our lack of access to the center, to the central position, to the position of the divine, the wheel that keeps turning. The wheel keeps turning, but at the center, it remains still. From the God's perspective, from the divine perspective, it is still. From human perspective, the illusion of change, illusion of movement is constant, and God knows about future as much as he knows about the past and the present. So the knowledge of God, perspective of God, makes the center of the wheel still. So this is what Eliot means when he talks about the still center of the wheel. The cycle of seasons is another kind of circular element that is being talked about in this play, and it plays out in plays out as a contrast to the idea of the spiritual center of the wheel. So cycle of seasons is something that is constantly mentioned by the chorus. So chorus represents the earthly realm, and they understand the world passing of time through the passing of seasons, and they are completely unaware of the mystery of God's design and about the wheel of fortune and wheel of fate and the stillness of its center. They are not aware of God's plans, but all they understand, all they experience is the cycle of seasons, the cyclicality, and the coming and goings of fortune. And Catherine wheel is another mention that we see in the play, and it is mentioned by the tempters. The tempters threaten Beckett towards the end of the first act with the Catherine wheel, which is a torture equipment, uh, historical torture equipment, which was used in the martyrdom of Saint Catherine of Alexandria. And finally, whenever we talk about the wheel, especially the wheel as a symbol, and in the works of a modernist, we have to remember the wheel of history concept introduced by W.B. Yeats. W.B. Yeats, especially in the Second Coming, you would remember the poem. In Second Coming, he talks about the widening gyre. So the idea of history as a gyre, of a wheel that is constantly in movement with the center, the still center. He understood. Yeats understood time and history as cyclical, that all civilizations lasts about roughly around 2000 years, and they have rise moments of glory every 500 years. They experience a moment of glory, and at the end of the 2000 year, around the 2000 year mark, the center will be unable to hold anymore, and the wide edges will collapse. If Yeats understood the World War as an indicator of this kind of collapse of the Western civilization, of the European civilization as we know. In 1500, the Renaissance was one of the last peaks of the civilization, and now that civilization has come to an end towards the 20th century, end of the 20th century. He believed that European civilization is coming to an end, and what we will be left with is a new kind of civilization. We could understand this from our own perspective. In the 21st century, towards the beginning of the 21st century, we are here and seeing a large scale collapse of all economic, political, and social systems as we understand it. And here is right now the way we are interacting with each other. This could all be indicative of a paradigmatic shift in in civil could be a civilizational shift as Yeats predicted, or maybe not. I will end this section of this lecture here, and we'll continue in the next lecture. Thank you.